No, I think the thing too is that we have to remember that the cells have a memory, and a lot of people don't want to believe this, but they're starting to be able to do studies now where they actually can prove this. I forget the Japanese doctors that's doing those photographs of the water now. So it's pretty amazing. So this kind of is actually proof that homeopathy works. And although homeopaths don't need proof, it's been around since Dr. Hahnemann did this for hundreds of years, but scientists seem to need proof and doctors want proof. And so, but
science has to prove things today.
Of course. But homeopathy works because it's an energetic medicine. And what's beautiful about it is that you can take a poison. One of our famous remedies is arsenic, which is called, in remedy name, it's arsenicum album. You can buy it at your local health food store, so it's obviously not dangerous, but because it's been potentized and diluted so many times, it's therefore safe. So I just want to explain a little bit about how it's made. So they start out with one drop, let's say, of a tincture of arsenic, pure arsenic. They triturate it and they make it. Then, or if we're doing a plant, they would take one drop of this tincture and then they put it in a vial and they add 99 drops of alcohol and water, and then they take this method where they actually hit the vial. They used to do it on a leather-bound book like the Bible or some leather-bound book by hand. Do this 100 times, and then after that's done, they take one drop of that vial and put it in another vial, add 99 drops of water, hit it 100 times. That becomes a 2C. Then one drop of that into another vial, 99. That's a 3C. So each time that you're diluting it, that's called succussion when you hit it like that. So every time you dilute it, you succuss it 100 times. If we're making a C potency, if we're making an X potency, then we're only diluting it 10 drops instead of 99. But I don't want to confuse everyone there. So what makes the remedies powerful is those succussions. And the reason we think that it works is because when you hit the vial like that, it's as if the water molecules take an imprint of the substance. They take almost like a photographic imprint of the original substance, and then you're diluting it, but you're hitting it 100 more times and diluting it and hitting it 100 more times. And with every hit, every succussion, it's like that imprint's getting stronger and stronger. Because my dad is a doctor, and he always used to say to me, now, how can this be stronger when it's diluted more? It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I said, because you're thinking like a doctor, and you can't think like a doctor. You have to remember that what's making it stronger is the amount of times it's being hit and how much it's pushing in the energetic memory into these molecules. It's energy. So if you can get people thinking away from the actual substance and thinking in forms of energy, then it's very easy to understand why it becomes stronger as we dilute it. So a 6C is 6 times diluted with 100 succussions in between, and a 30C is 30 times diluted. Then there's a 200C, then there's a 1000C, then there's a 10,000, so you can imagine all the work. So in pharmacies now, they have machines that do it, but I buy my remedies from pharmacies that do it by hand up until 200. After that, they do it by machine. So it's quite powerful medicine on this level.
Seems like. Can you self-medicate yourself, self-homeopath yourself? I mean, would that work?
Well, you know more than anyone knows. You should never treat yourself. You can't help but treat yourself. But the reason I say that,
some people can go and buy those.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, I understand the C, I understand the grade, so I know I need that, so I buy it.
There's a yes and no answer to that, because yes, you can treat yourself if you're just wanting to treat very on the surface and very acutely. So if you're going, let's say you have a cold or your child has a cough, but the truth is, what is a real acute? An acute really is part of our chronic state. So sometimes we get the flu and we get this bad cough, but that bad cough is really part of our chronic. It's a deeper something. Yeah. So you can go try and buy, and maybe the cough will go away, but then little Johnny gets the cough again in 2 months, and then he gets it again, or another ear infection or another ear infection. So it's more on the surface. If you really want to get the body to stop this chronic disease, then you need to be treated deeply, which is always better under the help of a professional. And treating myself, I don't even want to do that myself, because
so your colleagues helping you.
I always go see a homeopath, but if I just needed a little help through a cold or something.
obvious.
But if you have a good remedy, it's always better to work with your homeopath. But I think part of that is to find a good remedy for a patient, you have to really understand who the patient is. So I need to know a lot about that person. And if I'm treating myself, I can't be non-judgmental about who I am. We like to all think we can be,
But
but
it's
who
hard.
we see ourselves is how we see ourselves. And so in homeopathy, you really have to have this kind of viewpoint that's far away and listen. And it's too hard to do that on your own. So I never recommend people treating themselves.
I wanted to go into this direction because people going by Advil and now I have this inflammation, Tylenol and this and that, and they think they do some good on the body and it helps running fast life. I wanted to go very particularly who is interested in this show in homeopathy, knowing more about homeopathy, avoid please to try to fix yourself. It's not going to work. It's not about that we have work and we make money. It's about to validate this very important and very valuable profession and give you the best health. So, and I know from DEBORAH, because we talked about this before this show today, beginning therapy, it can be expensive, but once you are in treatment, then it's much easier to maintain and just go deeper. So stick to it. That's the very important, that you don't go and say, I tried, and then it's not working fast enough, and then you drop out. That's where that really begins. You want to tell me about that? It's very important that we get that message out now.
Well, I think it's true. Unfortunately, insurance isn't in our field yet, but in a way I can say fortunately, because insurance has become a real pain too. It's good for the consumer because it does help you pay for some of your expenses, but it also seems like they hold it against you when you use your insurance and then the rates all go up. So I'm not so sure how helpful it is. But because it does have to come out of our pocket to see a homeopath, it makes it difficult, and it's really not that expensive. I think if you compare 5 minutes of a doctor's time for what they charge to what a homeopath charges for a 2.5-hour consultation, it's really not.
That's absolutely correct. But the point is, you actually working on the long run on somebody's entire health. So
Exactly.
it's going to be avoided
Right.
10, 15, 20, 30 years later.
And
no gallbladder stone, no late follow-up, so no surgeries, expensive
and along
surgeries.
the way, you're learning which remedies have helped you, and so you educate yourself working with your homeopath. I have a lot of patients that'll say, okay, so I got this and I know now to dose with my remedy. They already know what to do because they've worked with me for 5 or 6 years now, so they know, okay, I should do my remedy and maybe take it 3 times in the next 2 hours because they've learned the process. So learning themselves, helping them now to work along that path. But exactly as you said, if you're eliminating the cause of your disease, then you're now becoming healthy. But every day we're under stresses of all kinds, so it's not like anyone can really live
You have to
perfectly
maintain
healthy. It's all about maintaining. But you also have to, I think, really in any form of alternative medicine that you choose, you have to really believe in it, because if you come to a homeopath and you give it one try and we sit down for 2.5 hours and I give a remedy and let's say it didn't touch them in the way that they were happy or I was happy, and then they quit and say, I tried it, it didn't work, that's not enough time. There's
that's what I wanted to
thousands of
get
remedies.
into, that
Yeah.
you make the initial couple of hours consultation, you work 10 hours in the background after you collecting all those informations, and then come back with the remedy saying, that's the one what we have to try, and then starts actually by the client effective and then make worse the symptoms sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
And then slowly, it's months, years sometimes, and it's hard for a person to understand that that's what is needed.
Well, I think the main thing is that it's never worse for a couple of years, and it's never not better for a couple of years. What they have to understand is usually I find that all my patients get relief in certain areas, let's say. Some people, I always like to think of it like darts. You hit the bullseye, and wow, you see the vital force just healing things. Sometimes, like you said, it can stir up an aggravation and they actually get worse.